My name is Joe McGivern, Chair of the Holyoke City Council's Finance Committee. This committee meeting is live via Zoom, also being recorded via Zoom. Also live on the public access channel 15. And Jeff, I believe it's being streamed also. So we do our best to keep our public not just informed, but keep our public in touch where they can tune in under multiple different options. We got an agenda tonight on the Finance Committee. Councilor Tallman, Councilor Sullivan are present. At the moment, we're waiting for Councilor Bartley and Councilor Leahy, but we have a quorum, so we'll get going. We're also joined by Councilor Mayor Murphy, Councilor Graney, and I believe at the moment that's it. So Chair will entertain a motion on item number 1.
Motion to take item number off the table.
Second.
Motion made second to take item 1 off the table. Item 1 is petition for a new junk dealer's license for Louis Neves at 2 Harrison Avenue. On the motion to take off the table, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Do we have Mr. Nieves with us this evening? I see a name.
Yes, I'm here.
Welcome, Louis.
Thank you.
You're before the city's Finance Committee. We recommend to the full City Council on these requests. So what we'd like you to do is to start off just with the particulars, why you need a junk dealer's license, the address, and so forth.
Yeah, I wanted to start a little small junk dealer business. And I just wanted to do the common, the normal. I just removing junk from apartments when tenants are when they left the apartment and stuff like that, or do a little junk removal for illegal dumping and stuff like that.
And Louis, how would you do that?
Well, right now I'm just trying to. The first step is to get the license, and then the next step is to get my insurance, and then I'm gonna buy a little truck and then start from there, and then probably buy a trailer just so I could start the small business and just not have no I'm not gonna have a location yet.
And your clients, you would work the deal with your clients to take whatever you were removing, and they would pay to have it disposed of somewhere?
Yes, I already talked to a few apartment buildings that they'll probably be able to hire me, but first I will have to do the license and then the insurance and then do all the steps before I start completing orders and stuff like that.
Anything else you'd like to add?
No, just I would like to start in the Holyoke. You know, I was told this is the first step, and I just want to do everything the right way. And hopefully I'll be able to start with this getting approved, and then I can move on to getting insurance and then the truck and the trailer.
And Louis, 2 Harrison Avenue, is that your home?
Yes.
You have a business address?
No, not yet.
Are you planning to get one?
It depends on the scale of customers I get, but for right now, I guess I'll use my home address.
Okay. Which is possible. But for tax purposes with the IRS and for other reasons, if you decide even just for a short period of time to work out of your home, you might want to consider a special permit that allows you to do that. It's very limited, but most of your work would not be in your home, but making phone calls and stuff like that. And then the IRS would allow you to recognize that as you're using a portion of your home for your business purpose. Is there any questions for Mr. Nieves? Any discussion?
Joe?
Councilor Tallman.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Louis, with the if you go to pick up some of the property, say apartments or whatever, and some of the people that want to clear out their apartment or get rid of stuff, where would you put the items? Like in the meantime, I'm just concerned if you don't have a place yet, would you keep them in a garage or somewhere in your house? I mean, just thinking about the neighbors and stuff, you know.
Oh no, I will be dumping them at the same time as I complete the order. And
okay, so you don't keep anything. You dump.
No. Just straight to the dump or to the Holyoke. I think it's called the Sullivan Scrap Metal.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not gonna be holding any stuff for once I complete the order of the apartment, I'm gonna dump it as quick as I can.
As soon as you can. Okay, I was just wondering how that, if you had to hang on to some of the stuff or until they opened up, or if you did something at late in the day. Just wanted to make sure that there was nothing at the address on Harrison.
Okay. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
The chair just recognized we are joined by Councilor Bartley, also a member of this committee. Is there any further questions or discussion? Councilor Bartley.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, just a point of information to you, because I kind of like that. This is a new junk dealer, Joe. So I kind of like it when you kind of let them know that this is a 1 year license, if you will, and subject to annual review. And the annual review is going to include, of course, to make sure the taxes are paid and fees are paid, and make sure there's no violations. And particularly in a business like this, we all respect it, but there's going to be Board of Health, the building department, other departments are going to be watching and monitoring. So we wish the petitioner all the success in the world, but we generally you would caution the petitioner, say, just do the right things and you won't have to come back before us. But if you don't do the right things, this is a permit, a license that can be granted and can be taken away. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Bartley. I think you said it perfect.
Yes.
Mr. Nieves, do you have any questions about that?
No, I just want to say that that's all I'm trying to do is everything the right way, and that's why I started the first step with applying for this application, and then the next step is to get insurance, and then there's no way of cutting corners with me. I'm a hard worker. I'm not trying to do anything wrong, and taxes and all that will be paid, and everything will be handled in the right way.
Thank you. And as Councilor Bartley said, we do have to review this in 1 year, but we do wish you the best and hope you're very successful and end up on business property and maybe a bunch of people working for you.
Yes. That's the goal. That's the dream.
I'll make a motion to recommend approval to the full city council.
A second.
Motion has been made and seconded to recommend approval to the full city council. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 4-0. Louis, this recommendation will go to our full city council meeting next Tuesday. The full city council will act on it, and you should be able to contact the clerk a couple of days later, and they'll be able to take care of the license and everything for you.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Best of luck to you.
Good luck.
Thank you so much, guys.
If we could take motion to take items 2 and 3 as a package, could vote on them separate, but at least for discussion.
So moved.
Motion items 2 and 3 off the table for discussion.
Motion is second to take 2 and 3 off the table for discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Item 2 is a petition of ECOATM LLC for a secondhand license at 2261 Northampton Street. Item 3 is from the same LLC, ECOATM, for a secondhand license at 250 Westfield Street. Do we have someone here representing the LLC?
Yes, hi. Let me zoom in here.
And could you give us your name, address?
Yeah, hi, my name is Hunter Bjorkman. I'm Senior Corporate Counsel for EcoATM LLC.
Thank you, Hunter, and welcome.
Thank you for
Hunter,
having me.
the secondhand license a little different than a junk dealer's license. We have to ask a ton of questions that are related towards what type of secondhand licenses that you are buying. Are you selling them? Are you working with, what is your plan to work with the Holyoke Police Department? I know you already have a secondhand license at a different address. So
Sure.
Could you run us through what these 2 addresses will be doing, and then update us on everything I said about the HPD?
Absolutely. Let me just give a quick overview. So EcoATMs were automated recycling kiosks. We purchase used cell phones, tablets, and MP3 from consumers for cash. We just purchased. We're a true recycler. We accept all phones, no matter the condition, broken, working, what have you. And what we do with those, we refurbish them and we resell them for reuse, or we recycle them for scrap. And so we have a location already in Holyoke. We've been there since 2015 in the Ingleside Mall. We work closely with the police department. We report all transactions through NESPIN, which is the New England reporting system, and through Leads Online, which is an additional law enforcement reporting tool. We hold all devices for 30 days. There's no search warrants or subpoenas. And of course, we, as I talked about, we report all the transaction information that you require in your city code. Last little bit about us is we have 4,500 locations across the US. We're in 49 states. And these two new applications in your city are for Dollar General, which is a new retail partner. We're mostly found in Walmarts, Kroger grocery stores, some malls that still are around, and then now Dollar Generals.
In Hunter, with the police department, does each of these sites keep a log and are prepared to answer or to work with the police department and people who have sold you one of these used cell phones?
Absolutely. We're very pro law enforcement. There's no search warrants or subpoenas needed from us. You know, any devices that are a part of an investigation will gladly get to law enforcement as quickly as we can. And we have no qualms with, you know, keeping our records, letting law enforcement, you know, we even let law enforcement come to our kiosks and we'll automatically open it for them. They can search through the inventory inside to see if it matches with the record. So we're an open book when it comes to law enforcement.
You know, cell phones can easily be stolen. How do you keep identity of the people who sell them to you?
So part of our technology and what makes it special, right, is when you come to sell a phone to our kiosk, you have to put in your driver's license. And there's 3 cameras on the machine. And in San Diego at our headquarters here, we have individuals whose job is ID verification, right? So what they're looking at is the cameras in the machine, so the person in front of the machine about to sell us the device, and they compare it with the driver's license that was given to our machine. Our machines have a SureTech reader, which is the same ID reader used by the Department of Homeland Security. So at border crossings, it's the same ID reader that you're scanned across. And so a person here in San Diego looks at the ID, looks at the person through the various cameras on our machine and says, you know, either yes, this is a match, or no, it's not a match. And so that's how we get our records for who we've sold it to. And then, you know, there's various features, right? We can get a thumbprint if it's legally required. We can have a signature, a statement of ownership if that's legally required. So there's some, you know, modifications we can make, but generally that's where we get our information from, is the ID or driver's license. And then the photos that come along with it, of course.
Well, last question for me. How do you determine what you pay for each new cell phone?
It's interesting, right? It's all an open market sort of auction format. You know, we operate an online store called Gazelle that will sell sort of the higher end, nicer phones. The middle market phones get refurbished overseas, right? So you think of an iPhone 6 is old news for most Americans, but it's brand new for someone in Africa or Asia, right? So it's giving the new life to these old phones, and the market fluctuates, right? And so that's the price changes just depending on the markets and what we can get for them.
I think I'm in trouble because I think my iPhone is an iPhone 5, but I'm not going to quote that because I have no idea.
It's worth something.
Well, you know, we always say, right, most people have probably 4, 5, 6 phones in your drawer sitting at home, right? That's our biggest competitor, is just the phones gathering dust in your drawer. So that's sort of our true mission. And, you know, our benefit for the community is electronics are big hazardous waste for your landfills. And we help get these out of your community. Government, nobody has to pay for them, right? It's a private partnership that's getting this hazardous material out of your community, and then we pay your citizens cash that they reinvest right back into the community. So there's quite a few benefits. Last benefit is it's safe and secure, right? You're not going on Craigslist. You're not meeting someone in a parking lot somewhere, right? This is inside a retail establishment, so you have that security and safety aspect as well.
And Hunter, just a reminder, these I think you know this, but these secondhand licenses are renewable. If everything's in order pretty much on the year mark, we just review that. If there's no issues with the police department and there's no issues with taxes or any fees or costs that is even probable owed, then for the most part, we can just renew the secondhand license, but we do a check once a year. Is there any other questions for our petitioner? Any other thoughts or discussion? Councilor Barley?
No, I'm sorry. I think I'm okay.
Okay, my mistake.
Well, actually, just one quick question, Mr. Chair.
Yep, Councilor Barley.
Yes, Hunter. The kiosks themselves will be inside the Dollar Generals, or will they be outside?
They're always inside, so usually in the front vestibule. It's typically where they are by the cashier.
And then how does your company make an arrangement with the with the host? Is it a lease or something, or how's that work?
Exactly. we sign an agreement and we lease space, various, obviously various financial incentives, but essentially it's a lease, right, of a space in their store. And that's typically generally how it is.
Now, to your knowledge, is in others, I wasn't sure what was going on here. So is this something that is taxable as personalty? In other words, can the city of Holyoke tax this? Does that happen elsewhere, to your knowledge?
I would need to look into and check with our tax department, but I know we do pay property taxes in certain jurisdictions, and obviously our retail partner pays property taxes. But I'd have to look into it.
Yeah, they would pay the rent to the to whoever the vendor, some company in Pennsylvania, I think that owns that part, at least that part of Kmart Plaza. On Westfield Road, that's the KSC Plaza. I really don't even know who owns that at this point. I'm a little remiss in that. But I'd like to. I don't think I have to make a big deal about it, but I'm going to ask the assessor at some point, Hunter, just for his position on that. Okay.
That's fine, and I'll check with our side too and see what we're paying or what we've paid.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you.
Any further discussion?
Mr. Chairman?
Councilor Grady.
Yeah, just quickly, what store is the 2261 Northampton Street location going to be?
Dollar General.
Dollar General.
At 2261 Northampton Street, Dollar General?
Yeah, Hunter, they're both Dollar General, right? Because you got Dollar General at Kmart Plaza and Dollar General at KSC Plaza, right?
That's correct. And then our renewals at Ingleside Mall.
All right, thank you.
Of course, Hunter's got a palm tree behind him and some kind of a body of water. I assume that's the Pacific Ocean, but we don't get that here in Holyoke. But we do have a Dollar General.
Joe?
Well, the seagulls are all gone from the Kmart, so I don't know what the story is.
Yeah. Thank you, Chair McGivern. Hunter, I'm aware. I think we brought this one about 5-6 years ago to our finance committee with Chair McGee at the time. How is the one at the Holyoke Mall doing?
It does pretty well. So I pulled some stats from 2020. Looked like we recycled about 800 devices, meaning 800 different people sold us their devices or recycled them for $0, and we paid out to the community around, let me look real quick, around just under $30,000. So that was our stats last year. That's very much in line with typical stats.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Councilor Grady?
Just quickly, I'm still trying to pinpoint that location. There's a Dollar Tree in the Kmart. I don't remember seeing a Dollar General in there. I was just there the other day.
Yeah, there is.
It's there, Howie.
Near Stop and Shop, before Stop and Shop.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Any further discussion? Chair will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve both secondhand licenses for 2261 Northampton Street and 250 Westfield Road.
Motion made second that we recommend adoption for both licenses at each address and refer that to the full city council next Tuesday. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
So moved.
Joe?
Councilor Barley?
Yeah, just another point of order. I was a little bit off. I had trouble logging into the meeting. I couldn't log in. I could hear you. I could see you guys, but I couldn't get in. I was a little bit off my game. So just back to the first one, if I could, Joe.
Yes. One quick second, Hunter. We'll make this recommendation next Tuesday. A couple of days later, call the city clerk, and it should be available.
Fantastic. Thank you, gentlemen. Have a great week.
Good night.
Thank you.
Good night.
Councilor Bartley on item number 1.
Yeah, just as a point of information. First of all, I noticed we didn't. The petitioner is a renter. Doesn't own 2 Harrison, and I noticed that the landlord, pursuant to his application, is VOC, and I would think, I shipped an email. I just did it now after we were speaking about shipped an email to Stephen Huntley, the executive director of VOC. So, I mean, I don't even know if his lease would allow that. And then second of all, you know, that's a, you know, Joe, you know that neighborhood like the back of your hand. I mean, it's just thickly settled residential. And I mean, do we ever put conditions on these on these dealers? I mean,
Good question. And I did point out, I'm not sure if you were on when I pointed out to the petitioner. This before us is a license. You know, it's very cut and dry as to what a person can do with the license in terms of the business that they want to operate. All their business is not at 2 Harrison Avenue. What I asked Mr. Nieves is if you're going to operate your business out of your home, be you know, talking to clients, potential clients, you know, that is really a home occupation permit that he may have to look into. His goal is to find a commercial address and to open up a business, you know, at another site. He did say that's his residential address, and we informed him that he may need that special permit, even if it's only temporary, to operate out of his home.
okay, I appreciate what the chair did. That's great. I'll try to figure out a way. I didn't see a telephone number or an email on his petition, so I'll reach out to him myself, and then I'll have to hear from Mr. Huntley as well. Thank you.
No problem. If there's any issues, just let us know next Tuesday, and we'll take appropriate action.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Item number 4.
Motion to take 4 off the table, I guess.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to take item 4 off the table. It's a request for a appropriation by transfer in the fiscal year 2021 as follows. $21,569 from court, I believe it's court overtime. $21,569 to $4,308.24 sustained traffic enforcement, $871.51 to pedestrian bicyclist safety, $3,779 to .38 Homeland Security, $1,258.44 to EMD and training, traffic enforcement $343.87, diverting juveniles $5,349.06, traffic enforcement equipment $3,056.50, traffic $2,253.46, and sustained traffic enforcement $248.54. Should total up to $21,569. The proposal from the department head is to take it from the court overtime line item and transfer it into each of these items. We have both Captain Pratt and Lieutenant Hart with us this evening, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Gentlemen, would you like to walk us through this?
Sure. As you know, we've been working with Tanya in the auditor's office to try and clear up some of our grant funds and zero them out that's been on the books for several years. These are just some of them that are still open and in the deficit. Working with her, we've come up with a list to kind of zero these out. It totals $21,000. However, we also have some grant accounts that have surpluses as well, and those I think total approximately $26,000. So those I believe will be going back into the general fund. I'm not sure if Tanya and the outside auditor agreed on that, but I think that's where that may be going. And the reason for some of these deficits, kind of like the fire department, with Munis and with our own accounting practices, with many of these grants, just because we had so many of them and our accounting practices kind of had some conflicting areas where some of these that went in deficit were charged off to the grant when they should have been charged off to overtime, and vice versa with a lot of these grants. We've since implemented some financial practices by implementing a new color-coded overtime slip that we now use for all grant overtime opposed to regular city overtime, and other practices where some of the Excel spreadsheets were in fiscal year calendars when the grant may have been in a regular calendar year or federal fiscal year. So some of those things were kind of the reasons that these things went into deficit. But we've since corrected that and are working with Tanya and the new grant guidelines and have been putting in all our reimbursements through the cash receipts as requested.
Thank you, Lieutenant. And Captain Pratt, did you want to add anything to that?
No, I would just say, you know, working with John and Tanya, it makes perfect sense to use that money that we have to make this happen, to clear these up. That's our goal, try to get it all square. I know everyone's working hard to do that. And we have that surplus in that account due to mainly, as you know, Joe, COVID and not having as much court as we've had in the past.
Thank you. I meant to ask that, but I knew that, but thank you for saying that. And with the exception of one, these are fiscal 2018 and fiscal 2019. Are there any more deficits out there that we have to address? Any more grants that are in deficit? Or is this kind of shore them up?
Just kind of shores them up for all these grant accounts that Tanya and I worked out to kind of resolve.
Well, we appreciate this, and we know the story with the outside auditor, but more important, it's really DLS that's on our case, and we need to take the steps so that we are flush when it comes to grants in the budget itself. Tanya Dorjic is with us, our auditor. Tanya, did you want to jump in and say anything? We're gonna ask Mayor Murphy to invest into a laptop for our auditor's office. You know.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now, Tanya. Welcome.
I apologize.
It's okay.
I'm actually in my office now because I'm trying to work with this technology. I just wanted to say that I agree with everything that John said. You know, we're working. It's not going as fast as anybody would like it to. But I think if we continue to meet and work on these deficits, that hopefully in the next fiscal year, we can clean up the majority of all of these deficits and just move forward with, you know, more positive accounting practice.
Thank you. Are there any questions or discussion with any of our guests? Councilor Bartley.
Yeah, thank you. Tanya, you're still with me?
I sure am.
Thank you. What was the budgeted amount that because we severely cut this particular line item, I think justifiably, based upon the COVID. I know we had pushback on it, always had pushback, but we knew there wasn't going to be too many court appearances this year, right? So I think we did a pretty good job cutting it. But what did we wind up with a budget? What's the current status of this particular line item?
You're asking about the court line item?
I am. Since we're using the court funds to pay down grant monies from the police department that were overspent. Now I heard what the lieutenant said a minute ago about the other grants, but that's another argument for another day. But you
want the original budget figure?
I do, and I want to know what the current balance is in that line item.
101,250 was the original budget. Available today is 38,278.70. There was a transfer out.
Okay, so there have been in court overtime this year. There's been. Is that what I'm understanding? So we've used approximately $63,000 in court overtime?
No, we've actually spent $19,068 and transferred out $43,903.
Oh, $43,903. Okay. Does that include the transfer before us, Tanya, or was that another transfer we had?
No, that was from previous transfers that have already been processed.
previous transfers. Okay, boy, you lose track of them. Okay. Okay, but we've used 19,608 in court overtime this year?
19,068, that's accurate.
19,068 in court overtime. Okay, all right, that's helpful to know. I appreciate that. And looks like you picked 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So you picked off 9 of them right now. So do you know? Can you quantify for me how many of the overdrawn accounts we have left in the police department? Tanya?
Oh, actually, I don't know that specific number offhand, but I could definitely put it together for you. I have them all together.
Oh, I know
for
you do.
All
Yeah.
departments. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we had that free cash calculation from Matt Andre from last December. I know you emailed it to me. I'm sure you emailed it to all the counselors.
Yep, I mailed you an update as well. Emailed you an update.
Yes, you did.
I did.
And greatly appreciated. So I'm going to use that, and then I see a couple of these other ones. Mr. Chair, can I just go slightly off topic here, but it's still with the grants?
Councilor Bartley, yep.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just with some of these little minuscule ones, with a $1 here, $1 there, $15 there, Tanya.
Yes.
Can we?
Yeah.
What's the city's position on that? Because I do remember the auditor saying we should clean those up.
Yep, I can definitely clean those up at the end of the year. Just the smaller figures, not obviously larger ones, but $25 or whatever.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 5 of them that are $1, and then there's a handful more that looks like they're under $300, and I think I see 1 or 2 for just a little south of $500. So hopefully with you and the acting mayor, you can sort of tighten that up a little bit for us.
Absolutely, I'm aware of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Lieutenant Hart, did you want to speak?
Yes, just to talk to Councilor Bartley in reference to the amount of court time taken out. That was the majority of that transferred out was for buybacks, I believe, and retirements. So,
thank you, John.
You're welcome.
Any further discussion? Councilor Murphy, Mayor Murphy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just first of all, I want to thank Captain Pratt, and then I noticed a lot of this is on traffic enforcement, and I've asked him to do some things, and I know he has done and started to do some posting and traffic. So Captain Hart, I want to thank you. And when you get a chance, I'd love to get a report as to the results of what we did. And if there are other areas, any areas in the city, I want to make the public aware. If you let me know, I will try to work with the police department in terms of trying to get traffic enforcement so that we make all of our roads safer as possible. So Captain Hart, I thank you for your immediate response, and I appreciate it. I mean, Captain Pratt, sorry, I gave you a different name, Lieutenant Hart, sorry. Captain Pratt, thank you.
Any further discussion? Lieutenant Hart, you all set?
Yes, I am. Sorry, I'll take it down.
That's okay. That Papa Smurf hand is still up.
I'll make a motion, Joe, to recommend approval of these aforesaid transfers.
Motion has been made and seconded to make approval to our next city council meeting next Tuesday of these transfers for all the right reasons. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 4-0. Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen, and we appreciate it.
Motion to take item number 5 off the table.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to take item number 5 off. It's submitted to the Fort City Council. It's a copy of the Mackenzie Stadium lease between the City of Holyoke, Parks and Recreation Department in Commission, and Valley Blue Sox Foundation Incorporated. I know we have our very capable Parks Director, Terry Shepard, with us this evening. I'm not sure if Mike McManus is here to weigh in on this one. I know he's got a number of items. And do we have anybody from Blue Sox with us? Well, why don't we start with Terry? Did you want to take the lead and walk us through this annual lease?
Yep, be happy to. What's before you is a rental contract for the use of Mackenzie Field for the Pioneer Valley Blue Sox to call Mackenzie their home. You've seen these now for quite a few years. This is a duplicate of what was signed and passed in 2019. It's a $10,000 fee. It covers 22 games, playoffs if they make the playoffs. Hopefully their electricity, every year they've gotten $1,000 credit from the gas and electric for the use of lights. This is agreed upon by Mr. Caliago, Fred, the owner of the Blue Sox. We started working on it early in the year. This year maybe is a little different with COVID. Right now, everything looks like it's a go. They will be able to play. They will be able to have some fans. I don't know how the concession's going to work out. I think we might have to renegotiate the fees, or at least when we get paid, if it happens. It's an unknown.
So it's the identical contract, which covers all expenses and keeps a wonderful baseball team going for so many great fans, residents of Holyoke that enjoy them, and the region, I think.
No, Fred's been a joy to work with. This $10,000 really pretty much covers fees. Whenever there is a Blue Sox game, there's a full-time park employee on site, usually for 5 to 6 hours. That's a large portion of it. The other just covers maintenance fees.
I've attended a couple of games, and they do a tremendous job interacting with the fans and doing things with, especially with families and younger kids. I think it's a testimony, and the talent of the athletes is incredible. You love to see these college kids go on, and some of them do go on to Major League Baseball down the road, and we can be proud to say they played in Holyoke. Jerry or Mike, we've had a good partnership with, as far as the field goes, the long history with the Holyoke Millers and things that have happened over the years. The clubhouse, there's two. We got a great, fairly new concession stand, which works wonders. But the clubhouse on the Beach Street side, had to be torn down, had to be demolished for safety reasons. And I think there's a field house on the Holyoke High School parking lot side. What is the status of the field house? Is it still there? Is it in use?
They're actually the restrooms.
It's just the restrooms?
The restrooms and storage for the maintenance fellas. It's not in great shape. The adult co-ed softball team still uses the restrooms.
Okay.
That's really about the only public use it gets.
I've had several requests about replacing the clubhouse, a building that was used by Holyoke Youth Baseball for decades, a building that was used by all of the teams that play at Mackenzie for a locker room sort of type venue. If they're not, high school teams that can stay in their locker rooms and use them. It's certainly and of course with visitor teams and things of that nature. With American Rescue monies coming down the pipeline, is there any thoughts of replacing this building or looking for funding to replace this building?
Not on my
Murphy would love to jump in on this one.
Yeah, not on my end, Counselor. Nobody's really requested it from Park and Rec. I don't know if Michael McManus has different reactions.
I guess I would be in favor of it if we could actually use the money for that purpose. I'm not sure if we still know the full extent of what is an eligible and an ineligible expense of the COVID relief money.
We have that for a quick update later on the agenda, but Tanya, our auditor, and Mayor Murphy are both here. I hear there's some updates that came in, but is it premature to talk about it right now?
Yes, I got them around, I don't know, 1:30, 2 o'clock, and there's all kinds of pay. I got maybe some summaries I'm getting, and then there's a 157-page document that came through, but then they're sending some summaries to try to make it a little easier to do in terms of what is allowable, what's not allowable. They do specifically say certain things are not allowable. That was the one thing that came out highlighted, and I can't remember exactly what they were. There were just a couple of things that were absolutely not allowed. And then it seemed like there's going to be some leeway in terms of other projects. They have umbrellas, but they kind of making sure the umbrella is pretty broad.
Okay. Well,
So if I may, the ineligible uses of the state and tribal funding that the city received, can't use the funding to directly or indirectly offset a reduction in net tax revenue due to a change in tax rates during the fiscal year. And you can't use the funding to make a deposit to a pension fund. But then, as Terry said, there's broad categories. What I've read, sanitary facilities might not be ineligible. Doesn't explicitly say you can use the money to build sanitary facilities, but there might be ways to wiggle around the legal language.
well, consider the bug planted, and I understand some answers need to come forth first. What if people think it's a good idea? I, for one, do. Councilor Bartley.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. First, just to through chair to Terry Shepherd. Terry, I don't have missing pages 6 and 7 of the lease agreement, so I'm hopeful that somebody could maybe forward them to me. And if I'm missing them, I got to presume everybody else is missing them too. So that's one. Second of all, I hear you when it's a recycled lease, but do we make any provisions somewhere in here relative to COVID protocols, to that effect, and liability therefrom? Is that pretty well ground that we've covered here?
There's not a lot in the contract, but we've talked about it at commission meetings. Yes, because we fully understand they might not get through a season. I mean, when we started negotiations, we didn't know if there'd be any play at all. So yes, I think the commission and myself are very flexible with the Blue Sox and payment. And
Terry, you in the witness protection program? I can't, Yeah, I was just
noticing how dark I am. I don't know why, but no, I'm not.
Okay. I just want to make sure we don't. There's not a. All right. Just appreciate that. Just to the chair to Mike McManus. Mike, thank you for being here as always. What can you just remind the public what we've invested to date in the rehab of Mackenzie Field and in the new concession stands, if you would, please?
It was a couple $100,000. I don't have the number, but I'd say it's in the $300,000 to $400,000 range, that ballpark, give or take.
Okay, and so that was for demo and reconstruction and rehabilitation of the ball field?
Correct.
And what about the scoreboard? Did the city pay for that, or was that private?
No, the city did not pay for that. That was an earmark grant from the state.
Oh, love those. Okay, so we got an earmark from the Commonwealth, the glorious Commonwealth, and because that's a really nice feature, Mike. And then just so I'm clear, just sort of to Terry, does the lease contemplate? Oh, there she is. Oh, Terry. Does the lease contemplate? All the advertising that's kind of drapes around the fence?
no.
Who collects that, Mr. Siagalo?
Yeah, he does all of it, but he does have the Parks Department okay to do that. That's basically.
Oh, I'm sure he does. Okay. No, I mean, we greatly appreciate his investment, and they went back-to-back titles, and we had him at the city council for a proclamation, whatever that was going. I've been to ball games with Councilor Tallman, and we've enjoyed those games. So I look forward to some more. But I thank the commissioners and of course the department head for bringing the lease before us for a review. And if I can just get those other 2 pages, I'll.
Yep.
Hopefully we'll green light this tonight, but I just like them before we vote on it Tuesday night.
Okay. Are there any commissioners present this evening? That's okay. I just like to recognize them if they're here. Mayor Murphy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A couple of things. Obviously, they're working with Sean and the health department to make sure that they are following all protocols. And I know that conversation, I believe, has already been going on. If he's following what the state is allowing and then how we're going to do that. And trying to figure out how many people can be let into the stadium. I'm going to assume they're going to have maybe fewer entries in order to keep track of how many people are allowed, because there is going to be some kind of capacity limit, as I understand it. The other thing, if they are there and in this contract, and we cannot give them a discount if in fact we have to have an employee there, because right now we're basically breaking even. So if we were to say, well, we want you here, but there can't be any fans because of state guidelines, then and we said we're going to give you a break, in effect, we would be charging the city to allow them to play baseball. And I don't think that's correct for the taxpayers in the city of Holyoke. When we're breaking even, I'm okay with that. And it's pretty close when we do this. I know when I was a commissioner, we talked about it as well. So, but just be aware that if they want to get a deduction because attendance is going to be limited, that means it's got to come out of the taxpayer dollar, because their rent won't cover the cost. And I think the cost, if I'm not mistaken, Terry, was back when I was there, was about almost $9,000 for overtime.
It basically still is. We've cut back on a few of the overtime hours. I don't think I would let that happen, or Mr. McManus would. I was more along the lines like if they couldn't play, if there were outbreaks. Concessions are really what's up in the air now. Some of the restrictions were loosened up, and Sean actually sent all of us the newest update. I think right now they could probably have about, I think it's 25% of fans. Mackenzie can seat up to 3,000 people. And Sean fully expects the regulations to be loosened up one more time before game play. It's the concessions that I don't know. Nobody knows yet what they'll be allowed to sell, if anything.
I can make one other point,
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chair.
Councilor Graney first.
Yeah, just quickly, the governor's press conference today said Terry's accurate, 25% at outdoor venues like Mackenzie Stadium. So if it seats 3,000 people, 25% of that, somewhere around 1,500 people, I guess, or 1,200 people.
Mayor Murphy?
Yeah, just one other point, and it relates to the concession stands, which have worked out well. I mean, I've been there doing clinics, and it's a much nicer facility for fans. It's a much nicer facility for the players, and it was money well worth the investment in terms of really making it more attractive. And the scoreboard, the same kind of thing. And I'm glad it came in a grant. If I'm not mistaken, it's colored like Holyoke High School's color, so I think they try to make it supportive of the high school as well. So, but again, if we can do this and do it safely, then we're going to try to promote them as much as we can. And I mean, that it was a good investment. And the field, since we've done it, has been, night and day. When I was coaching at HCC, my guys would not slide when we played at Mackenzie. It was like concrete. And I have had a lot of people tell me, oh, it's a lot better field now. And I've been on it, and it is a lot better field. So, I mean, the investment was made, and it was certainly expensive, but it was quality.
Some of us remember the cinder track that ran through the outfield for the track meets, and the removal of that track with a promise to replace it, which took some time, but it did happen at what I call the Robertsfield complex up above. I just like to note the two things that are incredibly unique and positive, besides everything we talked about this evening with Mackenzie Field and with Roberts Field, is most cities and many high schools and have some type of facility similar to this, but no one has the stadium seating built in that we do, and that is a big plus when it comes to over the years we've had different teams up on the football soccer field, lease it out. We've had different youth events there, a lot of good things that have gone on. So I think the investment is paid for itself. It also spills out into the community with people spending money in Holyoke when they come in to see a game or participate in an event. And that's why I just hope I planted a bug in everybody's ear that now that we demolish that field house, that we talk about maybe using some of these monies to replace it, or at least looking if we can use those American Rescue monies to replace it and do something, because I think that would be the final piece of the puzzle and would serve good benefit for years to come. Is there any further discussion?
Mr. Chair?
Councilor Graney.
Yeah, just quickly, my math was wrong. Be about 25% would be about 800 people, thereabouts. Thank you.
Thank you. If there's no further discussion, the chair will entertain a motion.
Yeah, Mr. McManus has his hand up.
Thank you. Mike McManus, DPW Superintendent.
So I took the time to look at our records, and the cost for the field and everything associated with the demo of the old field house and the new field house is $612,000.
Any, Councilor Barley?
Yeah, just through the chair to Terry Shepherd. So Terry, I just want to emphasize, one is I think the contract language should specifically say subject to city council approval, because that is the ordinance. I mean, we had a dance around this with 4 solicitors ago, and we squared it up with her finally. Well, not with her, she left, and then we squared up after she left. But because it is subject to city council approval, so that ought to be made explicit on the document. I don't think it's in there. So I'm missing 2 pages, so it could be there, but I didn't see it in the pages I have. So there's that, and then I really want something specific sent to me relative to COVID on this. I mean, there should be a rider or something along those lines. I'm frankly, I don't even know what it should say, but I mean, I think we ought to kind of address it, don't you? I mean, I don't know, maybe run it by the solicitor's office and see what she says, but.
No, we did, or at least I did, at a Park and Rec Commission meeting, probably back in March. Nobody really knew how to say it, because there were so many unknowns, and we didn't know what we would agree to. They didn't know what they could agree to. So I don't know.
Okay, and then just to Councilor Acting Mayor Murphy's point, the 10,000 is pretty. It's been a pretty stagnant number. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying, and like the chairman said, we're all grateful to have them here. A lot of us ran on that incredibly horrible cinder based track or whatever it was. It was awful. But it's a great field. The investment, while it's a significant sum, as the chair said, Mackenzie's really an icon of Western Mass, and we should be very proud of it, and we want to take care of it and maintain it. But I mean, it would be nice if there's a little bit of an investment. Maybe if there was a set aside fund from this, even if it was just a few thousand more, you can maybe put it back. And I would only want to see it go back into the ball field. Mm-hmm. And the same way with concessions or ticket sales. And I mean, I'm glad Fred's trying to make money, but the fact is he bought the thing at a private enterprise, a private business. He shouldn't be subsidized by the city. I mean, as much as we're all sports fans, every person here is a sports fan and a Holyoke fan and a Blue Sox fan. I get it. But Fred knows it's a private business. He bought it for a sum. He's probably going to sell it for a higher sum. I mean, just for your and the commissioner's consideration, Terry. That's all. I mean, I don't want to hold this thing up any more than I already have, but just think it out for down the road. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Chair will entertain a motion.
Motion to recommend approval.
Motion made and seconded to recommend approval of the contract with the Valley Blue Sox and Mackenzie's Field via the Parks and Rec Department. On that motion, any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0.
Motion to take 6 off the table.
Terry, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thanks, Terry.
Second to take item 6 off the table. In order that the City Council on March 2nd, 2021, and approved by the Mayor on March 9th, 2021, which ordered or the appropriation by borrowing of $1,216,500 for the purchase of Department of Public Works and Fire Department vehicles is amended so it also permit the expenditure of any funds in excess of the amounts needed to purchase of the vehicles originally described therein. To purchase a front-end loader, more specific. A motion to take it off the table. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. We have both Mike McManus, Superintendent DPW, with us with the proposal, and of course Mayor Murphy, and our auditor is still with us to answer any questions. Mike, do you want to lead us through the request here?
Sure. So we went through the original funding request. The fire department, DPW, we've selected all the vehicles that were in that initial request, and there was some money left over after we had made those orders. So the bonding limit was $1,216,500. The subtotal from the vehicles being requested was $1,064,131. That left $152,369 in the bond limit remaining. In that time, DPW, we have two front-end loaders that we use year-round. One of those loaders, it's been having problems in the bucket, in the bushing, where our guys aren't really comfortable using it because there's too much play in the bucket. It's our 1994 Caterpillar. So in the winter, we are even considering if our other loader, which is a 2003 John Deere, if that were to go down out of service, we were considering renting a loader in the short term, just so that we could continue operations. So with this bond, there was some money left in what was approved. We've identified a replacement loader with a value, a cost of around $114,000. It would be within that bonding limit. And so we're asking, I guess, permission or approval to purchase that additional vehicle underneath this bond because it wasn't part of the original bond authorization. There would still be $38,369 left in the bonding approved limit if this loader is approved.
Thank you, Michael. Of the vehicles that you have purchased to date, can you just update? You said you got everything that was in the original order. Is it the way that you proposed them, or did you make any changes?
It's the way that we proposed them. So there was one, the forestry truck, one refuse truck, and then two recycling trucks. The recycling trucks came in under what we had originally estimated. That's where this additional money was realized.
Thank you. Any questions, any discussion for Mr. McManus? Councilor Bartley.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Okay, yeah, and I think wasn't there something for the alarm division too, Mike?
Yeah, there was their signal truck.
Okay, so what's that? So 5 vehicles came out of the prior bond. The total was $1.064 million, and you've taken delivery of how many vehicles to date?
Well, DPW hasn't taken delivery of any vehicles. Fire department, I believe, has taken delivery of a vehicle. Our vehicles are on order.
All right, and when would you? Okay, if you place the order for this front end load, is one front end loader or 2 front end loaders?
Just one.
Okay. Okay. How long does it take to build a front end loader and ship it to Holyoke from John Deere?
I believe that I believe it's in South Hadley now. It would be the unit that we would have been renting.
Okay. What do you mean it's in South Hadley?
Well, it's at Quality Fleet Services in South Hadley.
Oh,
So I believe we would be able to take the delivery of it quickly once approved.
yeah, I would hope so, from South Hadley.
Our other vehicles, it's a matter of manufacturing, where the chassis has to be manufactured and then the back end has to be installed on that chassis. That's where our lead time is.
And then, what's the downside of leasing it?
So the downside of leasing it is we wouldn't own it. So it would just be, we could do a perpetual lease, we could do a perpetual rental. It's just that we've had the vehicle this is replacing is a 1994 Caterpillar. So it's, almost 30 years. And I would think that the lease or the rental over that time period would more than pay for the initial capital cost of the piece of equipment.
Yeah, okay. What were the terms of the lease? Did he give you any terms?
No.
Okay.
The rental, I don't have it in front of me, but the rental was some thousands of dollars per month.
Okay. Does the board of Public Works typically weigh in on something like this, Mike?
No.
Okay. And then as far as as far as the balance of the 38,369, so that's what's your maybe I'll ask the acting mayor, because the acting mayor's got to prove. What's the acting mayor's position on the balance? Are we just gonna come back to city council for something else there, or is it hard to say?
I would say we're probably not coming back for anything else. Mr. McManus came to me indicating that they had come in under bid. I talked to the fire chief. We wanted to make sure that what he had, and I know he had to get some equipment to put onto the vehicle and make sure that that was covered. And we made sure all of that was covered with all of the information we've had in terms of both the age of the vehicles in the DPW and the fact that we've been trying to update the fleet. I thought and it was living within the bond. I felt like this was an appropriate expense to try to get as many of the vehicles so that we're not spending as much on mechanical overtime, repairs, and all the other things, plus getting an operation that is going to be, from an equipment standpoint, much more effective. But as far as the other balance, no, I don't have any other thing in front of me. I don't have any other requests. I just like us to move in on this and complete the bond package as much as we can.
No, I agree. And just to the acting mayor, to the chair, did you run this by bond counsel? Does this merit a question to bond counsel? What is there anything we should be aware of from her perspective?
Okay, defer that to Tanya Dojic, our auditors with this.
Well, then hold that question then. You can, but I do want that answered. I just through the chair to the acting mayor, and I don't take this the wrong way, Mike. Because I'm just saying it out loud. So I'm glad you got under bid, but and believe me, don't take it the wrong way, because I don't mean it any way in this. But there may be in the future, a future department head. It's theoretically possible that a future department head, not Michael McManus, because I know he would never do this, could possibly give us or could you? I don't even know. Can you possibly, put in a larger bond proposal, then come back to city council, say, well, we had a whole bunch of bids and they're way under bid, and now we've got this, we haven't hit the ceiling, or we're well short. Is that theoretically possible, Mike, for for another department head to do that, and then you can come back and say, well, we didn't, we've got this much room left because we were underbid by all this money. I mean, Mike, could that happen? I'm not saying you would do it, but what's that?
Sure, anything could happen. The request was made based on estimates that DPW had collected before even making the request. So it was based on hard numbers. It wasn't as if we'd said, "Oh, let's just guess at $750,000 for this and $500,000 for that."
I'm grateful to hear that, but if I don't ask that question, somebody's going to ask me the question, and I don't, I want to at least give a reasonable answer. All right, and the only thing I have left is just to hear from the, I guess, from the city auditor about the about bond counsel's position.
They actually said that was fine because the bond authorization itself hadn't increased, just the number of vehicles. But also, I mean, we could take the savings as well, and either way was fine with them.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Councilor Sullivan.
Yeah, thank you, through the chair. Michael, what on the list of equipment we have, I can't find a Caterpillar loader on here. Could you help me with that? The list that was provided us?
It's number 88.
Number 88. Okay, just bear with me for a second. There's no 88 on the list.
I got it.
Really? It goes, my list goes 86 and then 89.
It's in red. It says 1994 Caterpillar 936F. The one we just got sent from Jeffrey today. Email.
Yeah, my list doesn't have it on there. It's got 2 blank spaces. So I don't know how that.
Maybe you need some red ink to copy it.
Actually, I've got the red ink right here. So
what do you have for vehicle 86?
For vehicle 86 is a John Deere 544.
Okay.
Yep.
There's no 87, 88. It goes 2 blank spaces and goes to 89.
Do you have a 90?
No, I don't. That's blank also.
Because our 90 is a 1997 trackless flail mower, and that's out of service. So 87 and 88. 87 is a 1988 New Holland skid steer, which is out of service.
All right.
So I wonder if I listed things that are out of service in red, a red font. Maybe that's not printing out on yours. Do you have a 77 up above? 1978 Champion Grader? Or does it just go 76, 78?
Yeah, it goes 76, 78.
Okay.
All right. Well, no problem there. So could you just tell me the machine that we're going to get to replace it, the John Deere, what model is that going to be?
Well, we're keeping the John Deere. We're keeping the 2003 John Deere 554H. We're replacing a 1994 Cat 936F with a Hyundai HL 940A. As long as you guys approve.
Yep. Okay, and this is coming from Quality Fleet Service.
Correct.
Yeah. All right. No, great company and great service they provide too, and they're local. Yeah. Okay. Those are my only questions.
Mike, anything else that you wanted to add?
No.
Okay. And Chief Preskopowski, did you want to add anything on this bond? I know you're in partnership with it.
No, Mike and I consulted on the extra purchase, and I fully support it. Our truck came in at the $160,000 level, like we said it was going to. So the extra funds, I'm totally supportive of Mike getting the needed equipment that he needs.
And when do we get a ride on that new truck?
Stop by headquarters anytime. Joe O'Connor would love to take you out.
He's right outside. He's right outside my door. Him and Jacques are right outside my door. I'm plugging the lights back in.
Yeah. Lost some power today.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chief.
You're
Any
welcome.
further discussion? Chair will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve amendment and recommend approval of amendment.
Motion made second to recommend that the amendment of the bond to be approved as per request of DPW. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Thank you. Item number 7.
Joe, you got any more for Ms. McManus or Miss Chief Preskopowski, or what do you want to do here?
Chief, what are you here for?
I'm just here to support Yanni on his request for the
River marker?
river markers.
Okay.
Well, Joe, you want to take up number 9 for Howie and get Miss
Actually,
McManus going?
I wish I did that when we just had that discussion, but if we could just real quick take number 9 off the table for discussion. All those in favor? Any opposed?
Aye.
This is how Councilor Graney's request that the DPW superintendent provide the city council with an inventory list of all DPW vehicles that are currently in use and not in use. Councilor Graney, I don't know if a hard copy has gotten to you yet, but we did receive that via email late this afternoon.
He's muted, Joe.
I know. Councilor Graney, you're muted if you're here.
Well, I'll make another motion. I mean, do you want to, is there anything else from Mike McManus on here? 13 maybe?
Those 13 is just to get to, we've already done it. It's just to get rid of it.
Okay, so just want to give Mike a break if we could.
No, I understand. And Suez, Mr. McManus has informed me that he's not prepared to give us any updates on the sewer rates and budget and stuff at this moment. He is working on it, but it just doesn't make sense to do it this evening. So
we're going to leave 13 and 14 table, Joe?
Well, 13 we can just vote it's complied with.
Oh, all right. So, all right. Okay, Joe. Sorry. Just want to.
That's all right. So why don't we do that real quick? On item 13, motion made second that the order was complied with.
Second.
That was via all the bonding and discussions that we've had with Mr. McManus on this. If there's no discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And 14, motion to table Suez for another meeting.
So
Second.
moved.
Favor?
So moved.
Any opposed? So moved.
Do we want to dispose of item 9 also then?
Well, how we can't talk, Mike.
I just wanted to make sure if Councilor Graney had any questions.
Yeah, and he doesn't have the list.
Well,
Nobody has that.
It came in late, yeah, so
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, they didn't mail it to him, right?
You'd have to drop it off, yeah. Hey, Councilor Graney, are you with us?
I'll just motion to leave that on the table if we could.
I'll second it.
We'll be with it real quick, Mike, if you can just, in case Councilor Graney has a question or two. So we're on back to item numbers.
Motion to take 7 off the table.
So
Second.
moved. All those in favor? Any
Aye.
opposed? This is a transfer request from senior planner, $1,403 to Connecticut River Channel Marker, $1,403. Motion to take off the table. All those in favor? Any opposed?
Aye.
With us is our conservation director, Yanni. Yanni, you with us? I believe Aaron Vega, you're coming in for this one too? And Chief Preskopowski. So Yanni, did you want to lead us through this transfer?
Sure, and it's Yoni.
It's Aaron's department, but with where the money's coming from, but.
Sure. So the purpose of this transfer request is to restore partial funding to the Connecticut River Channel Markers Program. So for decades, Holyoke has been part of a consortium of communities along the Connecticut River that have pooled resources to fund a program of channel markers, including no wake buoys, cans, a variety of channel markers that direct the flow of waterbound traffic. This was removed from the budget at the last budget hearing for 2021. I've since had it for fiscal year 21. I was new to the position then, and I've since learned more about the program and why it's important to maintain funding. So on the Holyoke stretch of the river, there are 9 no wake markers. There's also a series of lighted buoys that show where rocky areas and dangerous places are. But it's the no wake markers that really separate the motorized traffic from the hand-powered watercraft. So from a public safety standpoint, it's really important that these are maintained every year. We pool our resources and pay a contractor, Pioneer Valley Marine Services currently. And every year they go out and clean the buoys and check their locations, resituate them, replace broken ones with newer parts, all of the above. And what I learned going to the yearly meeting with our group is that even at current funding levels, the program is somewhat imperiled. And the lead community, Northampton, has to frequently submit grant requests just so we can stay on top of all the maintenance needs. I also reached out to Chief Kapowski to learn more about how many water rescues we do a year, how much the Holyoke Fire Department does. It sounds like it's been pretty low, about 1 per year on average. That's probably because we have this marker program in place. And, you know, the grand hope is that one day the US Coast Guard will take on management of the channel markers, but for a long time, it's been difficult to try to get them to do that. So in the meantime, our 4 communities, Northampton, Hadley, South Hadley, and Holyoke, are managing it on our own. So I know budgets were tight this year. I was able to move funds from other line items this year. So of the $3,500 total annual cost that we usually pay, I was able to take funding from some of the memberships that I'm part of that we were offered a reduced rate because of COVID. And I also took money from our education and workshops we usually go to that educate our commission members. So the resulting request for the transfer is $1,403 this year.
Well, Yanni, we appreciate the update, and from a public safety point of view, I think this is extremely important, and I'm glad you brought it to our attention. From a budget point of view, I really appreciate this because Aaron Vega has got a little bit of money in his line item, and he isn't living just in his own world. He understands that a budget is everybody's responsibility to make it work. And this goes back to the old days when department heads met regularly with the mayor and worked together on the big picture, not just their own budget. Aaron, can you tell us why there's a surplus? I know you've been here with this before, but
thanks, Counselor. Thanks, everybody. And it's great work with Yoni. He's been a great partner. Even though he's his own department, we definitely collaborate on a lot of projects, and he's been great to work with. So as you know, we did hire Jack Cologne back in February. So we had an open planner 2 position when Curtis left sometime maybe September, October, or maybe even before that, before I was on. So we had a good 5 or 6 months of that line item that wasn't utilized. And so working with Tanya, we had that line item and the clerk position that Gabby, I have to check her last name, sorry. She came on board in February as well. So we had 2 personnel line items that had a little bit of money left over that won't be needed by the end of the year. So, happy to support this, and it's an important project. And again, we want to utilize the river as best we can here for Holyoke. So happy to support this endeavor.
And Chief Kapowski, you said you were here to support this?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. I definitely support this endeavor. I gave Yoni some data on the amount of river rescues that the department makes yearly. And I think Yoni hit on it a little bit earlier, but I truly believe that our count for rescues on the river are low because of these channel markers. It slows people down. It keeps people under manageable speeds. It identifies rocky sections of the river where if boaters were going through quickly, I think we'd have a tremendous amount of accidents out there. And I can't support this enough. I think it's small money for the benefits that it gains for the city and for the boating community.
Thank you. Councilor Sullivan.
Yeah, I'm just going to make a general statement and remind everybody why we cut this from the budget. And I understand the chief's issue with safety. I understand all of that. But the fact is here that Northampton has a very large, profitable, tax-paying marina called the Expo. They also have in South Hadley and Hadley, Brunel's Marina, very large tax-paying, employing large numbers of people, and they benefit more from this channel markers than anyone else, and they should be fully bearing the cost of these channel markers, not Holyoke. That's all I have to say.
Any further discussion?
I would just add that I appreciate the comments, but also I think in the spirit of us working together within the department, this is bigger than just Holyoke or just Northampton. That we're trying to. This is a Connecticut River shared use path, and so I understand the councilor's comments, and don't disagree per se, but just this is not just a Holyoke issue. So definitely trying to make the river safe for all people. And we do know that people use the Holyoke Rows. That isn't a taxpayer. Obviously, but they're out there on the river as well. And they actually probably bring more of the canoes and kayaks to the river than maybe Northampton or Brunel's. So the safety issue for the Holyoke residents actually may be more important in some ways, just to make sure that they're safe out there on the river.
If I could, to the chief, Professor Kopowski, does the South Hadley Fire Department or their rescue unit, do they respond to things on the river too?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a coordinated effort between South Hadley and Holyoke and Chicopee on a lot of instances where we all have our boats out there at the same time coordinating rescues. Boats tip over, kayakers tipped over due to large wakes from fast boats. We always work well together, the three communities and with Northampton to the north. We're all out there trying to protect the boaters and everyone that's trying to utilize the river the best we can.
Thank you. Councilor Sullivan?
Yeah, a question for Yoni. Are any of these markers below the dam?
Yes.
Then why isn't Chicopee participating and paying in this?
I don't know.
So you see where I'm going? All of these other communities, we have a rail line called Amtrak that runs up. The citizens of Holyoke have very, very limited access to this. We don't have houses and cottages all along with private boats taking advantages and paying tremendous amounts of real estate taxes into the coffers like these other towns do. I'm not going to sit here all night and make a mountain out of a molehill, but these other communities should be bearing the full brunt of the cost of anything to do with that.
Councilor Bartley.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chair. I was just trying to look up how I vote on that. I presume I vote to cut it, but I respect and understand the argument for public safety. What Councilor Sullivan just referenced, however, is something I was going to run through the chair to the fire chief, because if we're doing it, then Chicopee ought to be doing it, and West Side ought to be doing it as well, downstream, and whoever else is down there in the city of Springfield. I presume that they are, and then Connecticut can deal with it what they want above the Windsor Lock Dam. But we've got north of the dam and south of the dam, and I'm hearing that we don't really have access to the river, but for the canoe club area. That's I'm just going to memory here, geographic memory, but I think that's it. But and my other issue, Mr. Chair, is I'm not saying we're doing it, but it seems like this is getting down to the end of the fiscal year. We got a couple extra dollars left. you know, instead of giving it back to the city for free cash, we make a motion to spend it. Now, yeah, you don't have to answer that. I know you won't answer it anyhow, but I just want to throw that on the table that these are the kind of things that we typically see at the end of a fiscal year. You know, we cut it for a reason, but due to circumstances beyond our control, we had extra dollars in the line item. And just if I could, to the conservation chair, did you say you transferred money from other line items for this?
From other expense line items.
Other expense line items.
Yes. I did my best to cover it with existing money on hand.
Okay, and those that doesn't have to come to city council.
Correct.
Correct. Yes. So, and what did you transfer from other expense line items? What was the total amount, Yoni?
It was 2,000, about $2,100.
That's close enough. So this
2,097.
Oh, you're a good man for 21. Let's just round it. It's government, right? We don't want to get too specific, but the total bill for this is the 2,100 plus the 1,400. Yoni, is that pretty much it?
Yeah.
And just remind me, this gets us what now? One channel marker? What does it do? I'm sorry.
It's the series. We pay a pool into the entire program, but there's a series of them along our stretch of the river. I think there's 9 no-wake markers and 5 or 6 lighted buoys.
Okay. So we're chipping into. Okay, I'm missing it then. So who's controlling the money once we cut these? Once we approve these expenses, who are we paying?
So the city of Northampton manages the program, but we have a meeting with all the towns every year, at least once a year, to determine the priorities. Because every year certain buoys or markers get hit by collisions or storms. So at any given point on the river, there's going to be a different priority in certain years for different maintenance activities. And I do believe that being part of a shared pool is much more cost efficient than if we were to just try to manage our stretch of river on our own. And to Councillor Sullivan's point, I wanted to mention that at the request of the council, I did bring that to the group, the fact that we don't collect boat excise taxes and try to explore other opportunities for us to play a lower share, but was unsuccessful. I didn't really have leverage to compel the other communities in that way. And again, even at the current funding rates, we're still applying for grants just to make ends meet and keep it going. And the real ultimate goal is to compel the US Coast Guard to maintain the entire program for us. Which
well, Yoni,
hopefully...
thank you for trying. I can't say I'm not shocked. I mean, can't say I'm shocked for that you didn't get much empathy from Northampton. They're a lot smarter than we are, of course. But what consequences, if any, if we don't approve this? What's the consequence?
So, we might be fine this year, but over time, there won't be funds to maintain markers in our section. And those would be systematically removed or not maintained if we weren't to keep on contributing our share.
Right, but so they're all that's my point. So they're all being launched from South Hadley and Hamp. And they're complaining, those three fine municipalities are complaining about the city of Holyoke where we're not collecting a nickel. You see that? You see how that goes? So the only thing we could do is potentially hold them hostage, but by not paying it. And gee whiz, it's their community that they've been collecting all the money, where their boats have been collecting all the excess taxes, and they're smashing into things down the Holyoke neck of the river. I mean, that's the argument that you could potentially present. The old well, it's you guys are collecting all the money, we're not collecting a nickel, and so we're supporting your habit. So I would look, I don't want to, I believe it enough. I mean, I'll vote to approve this tonight, but I think you got to go into that knowing that they don't like you. They don't like the city of Holyoke. They just want the money. So you've got to be able to push back on them. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Councilor Lease has joined us and her hand is up. Councilor Lease.
Thank you. Let's see if this works. Yes. So I have two quick questions. One is, Yoni, can you tell us if it's just a flat fee across each community or if it's prorated or like based on the square footage of the amount of riverfront?
It's currently a flat fee.
Has it ever been entertained to be something that would be more representative of the square footage of space or riverfront space?
Not to my knowledge. I think it's been the same rate for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that's what I tried to propose or explore with the other communities.
And so that specific option was explored with the other communities? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But given that they all need that service and they need us at the table, they weren't willing to entertain it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's basically the case.
Okay. And then the other question I have is Holyoke does have access to the river through the canoe club and through Jones Point, right?
That's correct.
Are there other access areas?
Not to my knowledge.
Holyoke Wells.
Oh.
But that is the Jones Point, right?
No.
Jones Point is north, yeah.
Jones Ferry.
Jones Ferry, yeah.
Jones Ferry. Sorry. And then, so we have two, like the Canoe Club and Holyoke Rose are both operated as nonprofits, correct?
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. I think that's sort of just where I wanted to see where things were at. Thanks, for attempting to advocate on our behalf for a different fee structure. I think it would be more equitable if we could, make the case for the other communities to, do more of their fair share. But at the end of the day, I mean, we're still receiving the service because the river markers are there to help identify like where there's trouble or somebody needed help, right? So
yeah,
it really benefits our first responders when they have that responsibility of going into the water and doing a rescue mission.
That's right. Yeah, from a public health perspective, I think is the real argument for maintaining our contribution.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, thanks so much for your time. Thanks.
Councilor Barley, is your hand up?
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, Joe, one more thing. Sorry about that. Joe, just through the chair to Chief Preskopowski. Chief, are you going to talk to your colleagues in West Side and Chicopee just below the dam so we can get an understanding of what our commitment is for that part of the river?
Yeah, I certainly can do that. I don't know if they're involved in their own collaborative underneath the dam. I can try to find that out. There might be another collaborative, I'm not sure, but there might be another collaborative between departments that are below the dam that are maintaining through Springfield. So I'll try to find that out for you.
Yeah, and there's a lot more humility below the dam, Yoni. North of the dam, like I said, they're all better than us and they know it. Obviously tongue in cheek here, but they can go to hell as far as I'm concerned. But next time, just if you could just consider possibly just making a different kind of presentation. But you did a great job, Yoni. I appreciate it.
Councilor Tallman.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. To Yoni, thank you for the work you've done with this, and I think it's important. And we've heard it from our planning department and from our fire chief, the importance of these river markers for the safety of the boaters in this area. And I know, I understand the money aspect, but I think this is something that we should keep at. To fund, and I'm very much in approval of this funding. I understand the dollar aspect. I understand it'd be nice if we didn't have to pay as much as Northampton and South Hadley or Hadley because they have the access, they have the boats, they have the excise. But And we are a great community. I don't see anybody that's much better than Holyoke. So to the Councilor Bartley, I don't think anybody's better than us. So I know
You're
you said
darn right,
tongue in
Pete.
cheek, but
You're darn right, Pete. But I like that fun at their expense.
I know, but Holyoke's strong. Holyoke's strong. Thank you.
Any further discussion?
I'll make a motion to recommend approval of this, Mr. Chair.
I'll second.
Motion made and second to approve the transfer. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no.
No.
3-1 carries.
Mr. Chairman, point of personal privilege.
Councilor Graney.
Somehow I got cut off with the discussion with Mr. McManus and, you know, my number 9, the vehicles and so forth. And the last of that discussion I heard before the phone went blank was that you were going to talk about me bringing up number 9, which was the inventory list. And you mentioned that you asked if I got that list, and I did not get that list in hard copy. And I was particularly interested in looking to see some of the vehicles in service and not in service, you know, particularly the 3 Humvees that are out there somewhere in service or out of service in the city. So those were some of the things I was interested in, and but I got cut off, so I don't know if you're going to bring back up number 9 or not.
Motion to take number 9 up off the table.
Motion made second to go to number 9. All those in favor? Any
Aye.
opposed? So moved. Yes, Councilor Graney. It looks like Mike McManus waited for you. We know it was, besides being your request, this was received via email. So we figured you hadn't quite got caught up with a hard copy yet. And we just wanted to see if you had any questions for Mike McManus.
It probably is in my email. I don't know. I did not have a chance to view it or review it before this meeting started. So I'm interested in looking at that list. Some of the vehicles, what are in use, what are not in use. You know, I've been told we had 3 Humvees that were purchased secondhand somewhere. I have seen one of them in use at the senior center, but I haven't seen the other 2 around the city. So those are just 2 of the questions I had. If we could start with that with Mr. McManus, if possible.
Mike, welcome back.
So we do have 3 Humvees. They are all in use. We got these off of a military surplus list. So technically, in Massachusetts, the city does not own these Humvees. They're on a long-term loan from the state. And at any point in time when the city is done with these Humvees, we have to turn them back over to the state in whatever condition they are at that time. So it's vehicle 14 is the automotive supervisor, his vehicle. 139, vehicle 139, that's the safety officer. And then 140 is the spare. And that's probably the one that you've seen at the senior center.
Councilor Graney?
Yeah, what cost to the city are these vehicles, and you know, the gas mileage and different things, and you know, are they efficient for use for just driving around in the city, or do they have a specific purpose?
So they were, I think we got them for $1,500 from the military a few years ago, and I'm not sure what the mileage is for the vehicles. They're mostly in town. They don't go out of town too often, other than for the automotive supervisor. He might have to run to, Quality Fleet Services in South Hadley or another Nutmeg International for dealings with our vehicle maintenance.
Well, what's the purpose of a Humvee for that use? That's what I'm failing to understand. Why can't a smaller vehicle be in use for something like that?
We would use a small vehicle if we had one. I mean, it was a vehicle that the city could pick up very inexpensively. They're very basic. We haven't put a lot of, if any, maintenance into these vehicles since we've got them. These aren't, they're not the, you know, the luxury Humvees that you or I would buy.
No, I understand.
From a dealer.
I understand that. Yet it seems like to me it doesn't seem like a practical vehicle for runabouts. That's all.
Any further discussion?
And I'm looking forward to the rest of the list so I can take a good look at it. Thank you.
Councilor Graney, would you have a suggestion as to what to do with the order? The list provided?
If the list is out there, it's been complied with.
Okay. I'll tell you what, why don't we make a motion that's complied with? If you have second thoughts, we can always refer it back next Tuesday.
All right, thank you.
Any further discussion? Councilor Tallman? Peter, you're muted.
I'm all set. Thank you.
Okay. Chair will entertain a motion.
Motion said comply with?
Motion made second, the order has been complied with. All those in favor, say aye. Any opposed? So moved. 4-0. Thank you, Mike. I think that's it.
Okay, have a good night.
Item number 8. Chair will entertain a motion to take off the table.
Oh, sorry, Joe, so moved.
Motion made second to take item 8 off the table. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We had tabled this at a prior finance committee meeting. It's an order by Councilor McGee that we invite the auditor to discuss and update the council on the rules associated with the ARP Act. The auditor is also to provide the council with an update as they become available. And this was referred to finance, taken up on April 15th. I put it on the agenda just for see if we got an update. I think we got a quick update. We have both our auditor still with us and Mayor Murphy. Would either one of you like to weigh in? I know something just came in and we're not going to have a long discussion tonight.
Yeah, I would just suggest that, you know, with what we got, I mean, we got some general information, but it's going to be very specific as we get into the details. And I think if we could wait one more finance meeting, we'll have a lot more information and probably be in a position to start soliciting more proposals that we know could qualify. But, and then also how it's going to, there's still some question on exactly how we are going to process it and award the particular proposals.
Okay. And Mayor Murphy, can you or Tanya forward us anything that we can just read or, you know, get a heads up on?
Yep.
Tanya?
I'll make sure the whole council gets whatever I get, so.
I already forwarded the information that we received. The fact sheet.
So both of you be in agreement, maybe 1 or 2 meetings down the road. But I think there's some questions for, as we get into the budget review, if this is going to have any impacts on next year's budget.
Yeah, I would certainly say within 2 weeks, Councilor McGivern, if that works for you, I would say let's start going over it. Let's get more specific and you know, I'm going to be working as I get better understanding. I'm going to try starting to solicit proposals because I really would like to see us move as many of these things so we've got projects started sometime late in the summer and able to be really worked on throughout the fall so that we have maximum impact as early as possible.
Thank you, Mayor. Is there any further discussion? If not, the chair will entertain a motion to table.
Motion to table?
Motion made second to table. We don't discuss that motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Thank you. Thank you, Tanya. Item 10.
Motion to take that off the table.
Second.
Motion made second to take off the table that the city consider purchasing any replacement vehicles if reached out of state to see if the city could be eligible for significant rebates of the purchase price of electric vehicles. The More E-EV program offers rebates as well as public entities for purchasing electric vehicles, now including trucks. In addition to that, the city looked into the Massachusetts Green Communities Grant Program, which provide funding assist to the installation of EV charging infrastructure. It's off the table for discussion. To the maker of the order, Terry, did you want to bring us up to date on your request here and what you would like to see done?
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, when I filed this, I wasn't in the position I'm in now. So one of the things that I am going to do, and I've started meeting with Mr. Lavelle from the Gas and Electric, because I think they are key in terms of the charging stations and the infrastructure for charging stations. It appears that there is a significant state funding to help us get our infrastructure in order. And there's also significant funding to potentially also allow us to start to have both privately, but also publicly, to have more of an electric fleet once we get the infrastructure. So I am going to meet with all the departments that purchase vehicles to see what their future needs are, to see if electric vehicles are realistic at this time, but also to work with the Gas and Electric. I know they're already working on it, and they talked about next year, but if we can get state funding to make our municipal infrastructure so that our municipal vehicles can charge up relatively quickly, and also to get charging stations throughout the community so that people are more inclined and it is more comfortable and convenient. Obviously, it's something that's going to happen in the next 5 or 10 years total, probably. And I just want us to get, while they're offering these incentives, I want us to get it in the line. And as a green community, there's some more potential. So that's my goal. I will be meeting now that I've presented a budget, which was interesting process. Once I've got that done, now I'm starting to work on some other things. And this is one of those things that I really want to get the departments in. I know I've talked to the fire chief, and he smiled at me one time. He's not smiling anymore. Oh, he still is. Okay, that's good. But and then there are people at the water department, the gas and electric. I'm gonna get them all together. I want to see how many would be interested, and let's put together a proposal to get as much state funding as we can and get our infrastructure in place to take advantage of when the vehicles are ready.
Terry, with the Green Communities Grant Program in relation to charging facilities, is there anyone you can designate to take the lead on that?
The charging stations, it appears it's going to be the Gas and Electric, because I mean they're already done some, and he did indicate that he thought they would be the primary infrastructure network charging station vehicle for us to use. So, and then obviously they would work on in terms of having a fee that makes it so that they're not losing money, but also so that they're not charging a phenomenal amount to have your vehicle recharged. So, I mean, they are definitely interested, but I got to get them all together before I can really make that firm commitment, Joe.
Thank you. And seeing no hands up, are you asking the committee to keep this on the table for now?
Yeah, if you would, once I get everybody together, I will probably come back to you and let you know what's going on, and have you take it back up, and hopefully at that point I'll say, we are trying to file for some of these grants, and this is what the goal of the grant is, and this is where we expect to put charging stations and all that kind of stuff. So,
thank you.
You're
If
welcome.
there's no discussion, the chair will entertain a motion to keep on the table.
Motion to keep on the table?
Made and seconded. All those in favor? Any
Aye.
opposed? So moved.
Motion to take item number 11 off the table?
Motion made and seconded to take item 11 off the table, introduced by Councilor Lease, that the mayor consider establishing a capital stabilization fund, potentially with one-time expenditures from our presently healthy emergency stabilization fund. Motion to take off the table for discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. The maker of the order, Councilor Lease, is with us. Mayor Murphy is with us. And I believe our auditor is still hanging in there. Councilor Lease, would you like to take the lead?
Sure. Thank you. It's really just the beginning of a conversation. I filed this after we had to, former Mayor Morris asked us to consider a transfer from stabilization to balance the budget last year. And, you know, a lot of the arguments made for that transfer, which we decided in the end not to do, was that stabilization is very healthy, and we continue to have, you know, real capital needs, capital funding needs, and a capital plan is developed. And I think that we need to have a dedicated fund. And I'd like to see us develop this capital stabilization fund to fund some of those projects, so we don't fall too far behind and drive the cost of maintaining our infrastructure up. Again, this is just the beginning of a conversation as far as I'm envisioning it. I think that a transfer from stabilization, free cash stabilization makes sense. I'm sure that we have the ability to get some guidance from Tanya or even Cinder, if that's appropriate. And I don't know if Councilor Acting Mayor Murphy has been able to check in with Cinder at all about this request, but you know, I'd love to see where it's at presently.
It's first of all, I put it on the agenda because a while back we had some trouble getting Mayor Morse in, although I think he's somewhat in favor of it. It was just a timing schedule, and it just got lost in the cracks. I apologize myself for that, and thank our administrative assistant for bringing it to my attention, so it's here. And the good news is we have a mayor, you know, Mayor Murphy, sitting here ready to respond.
Oh, I have to respond.
No pressure.
Yeah, you didn't tell me that. Jeez. I have reached out to Cinder, and she's been very good at giving me information and asking questions. And I haven't specifically got into this, but I do recall from a previous meeting that two things that were suggested. Number one was either a capital fund from the stabilization or a capital fund from free cash. Both of those things were suggested, and I can go and get more information in terms of what we could do in terms of transferring money from a stabilization into a capital fund and the dedicated capital investment fund, and how much she might think we could do and what the impact on our bond rating and our financial capacity. And that's what I've been asking all along as we go through. I want to make sure that whatever is being suggested is not putting us in financial jeopardy or changing the view of our bonding agencies in terms of our rating. So, and she's been very, I will say, I offered her a couple of suggestions last week, and it actually took her a little time to get back to me. So these are things, but this I know she's talked about, and I will ask again probably within the next couple of days, Councilor Lease.
Thank you. And Councilor McGivern, if I may follow up.
Yes.
Thank you. So I think from what I understand, Councilor Murphy was saying that it was looking to create a capital stabilization fund with either the free cash stabilization or free cash. And then I do want to, sorry, did I say free cash stabilization or free cash? Free cash or the emergency stabilization fund, sorry. So those are two options. The third option, I think, was in some of the emails that went back and forth between the DOR and Sean Cronin related to getting the finances in order to fund the schools. I believe that we have a number of short-term debts coming off this year, and I think the suggestion that was in that email conversation was that the debt that we were taking off of our debt capacity would then be transferred, or could potentially be transferred to seed the capital stabilization fund. So I think there's three options, and I think that it is, you know, sort of Cinder's wheelhouse to give us a sense of what the best route forward is. So if you wouldn't mind, Councilor Murphy, sorry, Acting Mayor Murphy, keeping that on the table when you have that conversation, I would appreciate it.
No problem.
Councilor Lease, and as far as your order goes, is it complied with and message sent, or would you rather we hang on to it for another meeting?
I'd like to have the results of that conversation come through and be able to check in on it again here to see which way we're going. So table is what I'd prefer at this point.
No problem. We obviously we can't create it or initiate it ourselves, but It's a message that has been sent. So, the chair, if there's no discussion, I'll entertain a motion to keep this on the table.
Motion to table.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Thank you, everyone. Item number 12.
Item 12 off the table for discussion.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to take item 12 off the table for discussion. Filed by Councilor Murphy that the city council encourage the mayor to appropriate a percentage of the yearly interest from the stabilization account in order to make sure that the projects needed around the city will be funded and completed as soon as possible. Projects such as West Glen Street, $35,000, $40,000. Sidewalks on Woods Ave, potentially in Northampton Street, the intersection of Eppermont Highway, Rock Valley Road, sidewalk at St. Jerome's and Dwight Street in the corner, and should be included, as well as other sidewalks, etc. The goal of this is to get these projects with the impact the quality of life throughout the city, not be delayed because of lack of funds, when in fact stabilization fund continues to grow. Motion is to take off the table for discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair will entertain the now mayor, Murphy, also maker of the order, would lead us through this.
Okay, I'm encouraging the mayor on this, by the way. So that was a little humor. Come on, way. Humor. Believe me, I need a laugh.
Terry, you're on fire. Great stuff.
So let me just say, there's a couple of things here that have happened since, and one of the things was I did touch base with Cinder, because I'm trying to find out, we have a 5-year plan on streets and sidewalks that we just received about maybe 5 or 6 weeks ago from the Department of Public Works, which indicated that we were going to be, basically this work is going to be done in year 1. This is year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5, based on Chapter 90 funding. And I had a meeting with the governor's representative in Springfield, and I just threw out, what's the possibility of us borrowing and getting the 5 years of work done maybe in a year and a half or 2 years, and paying off the bond with the Chapter 90 fund. And at that point, he said, I'm not sure I've ever heard of that. And I asked Cinder the same thing, and it did take a while. And she got back to me and said, that is based on our bond council. That is something that we might be able to do. So the potential, and I've asked our superintendent and our engineer to give me a rundown as to what they think the specific cost might be. And many of them are included in this order. If we can take care of streets and sidewalks in a year and a half or 2 years instead of 5 years, and we can do that at the same cost and be having that bond paid off with the Chapter 90 funds, to me, it's a home run for the city and a home run for the residents who are, let's face it, there are a lot of streets and sidewalks that are not in great shape. And if we can accelerate the repair process and give people better roads and better sidewalks and do it at the same expense, but do it 2 or 3 years quicker, to me, that's a home run. So, I'm still working on getting facts in terms of estimates and in terms of cost, and estimates in terms of, can we get this done? How quickly can we get this done if we have the money up front? So, and I'll tell you, being in the office, I've had a number of people that have complained about streets and sidewalks already. So, and many of them are on the list of the proposals that we received from the DPW.
Thank you. Councilor Bartley?
Well, I just to point, I don't know how long of a discussion we want to have, Mr. Chair. So I just want to get the chair's perspective or the maker's perspective. Is this something just for information right now, just to bring it to our attention, or what is it we want to do with this?
When I filed this back in January, I think it was with the previous mayor trying to get him, because he had talked about using some of the stabilization to provide a tax deferment and then to rephrase that, to pay off our imbalance in the budget, and then he pulled it back, and at that point I had so many people complaining. But then, when I saw the 5-year plan, and it was all based on Chapter 90, and tying in some of the orders that have been filed by many of you as well as myself, I thought, now let's take a look. So this order was actually, I wouldn't have a problem if you gave this order leave to withdraw, and I my hope is that I'm going to come back and say, look, we can get year 1, year 2, and year 3 done in the first 12 months, and we can get year 4 and 5 done in the next 12 months. This is what it would cost us, and it would be reimbursed as Chapter 90 funding comes in. And that's what it's all based on. So, and I just want to be in a position where when I do it, I know we're improving the streets and sidewalks quicker than they would have been done, and we're not putting ourselves in any financial jeopardy, but I'm still getting numbers. So.
Yeah, so Terry, I would, through the chair to Terry, so I don't want to give anything lead to a draw. That happens in other committees, but I don't think we should do that. But I think for something of this significance, there's so many factors involved. But first of all, we ought to get some kind of a written opinion from either Cinder or from, at a minimum, from Cinder, and then.
I do have that opinion.
Okay, and then from our law department as to how we would implement it. But I don't know how to put it, except I'll just be blunt. So we've had mayors in the past wanting to use stabilization to balance the budget, which is just really out of hand. And we've had numerous people on this board make multiple votes over many years relative to the stabilization and balance it. The worst thing we almost did was almost go into the retirement account to use those funds to balance the budget. That was a fun vote. Somehow we held ourselves back, and we didn't do that. So I am just really concerned that the spirit of this is honorable. It's just the details of it, and then possibly, once you get the nose under the camel's nose under the tent, I mean, you've got some wonderful projects in here, but next thing you know, well, why not my department? Well, wait a minute, why not this department here? That it's just as valid as these other little projects. And then we get amendments, and then we start going into the principle of stabilization. So I would just want us to be very, very tortoise-like on this, Terry.
And I appreciate it, Council. Can I just make, based on what I now know, I would not be taking this out of stabilization. I would be working with Cinder on a bond to be covered by the Chapter 90 funds, but to do the work specifically recommended by the DPW over a 5-year plan, bonding, and then reimbursing or paying off the bond with the Chapter 90 reimbursements, so that in effect, the work would be getting done quicker and the expense would be very similar, and it would probably be a 5-year bond, because we're talking 5 years of work based on Chapter 90 funding. And no longer, I mean, when I filed this, it was a much smaller thought, a much smaller plan. Maybe we're doing half a dozen streets. Now, based on that plan, we could be doing 70, 80, 90 streets and many other sidewalks.
So what you're saying, just through the chair again, what you're saying is that you're going to have to file separate orders through Councilor McGivern, and then once you have more details, yes, then you okay. So yes. So in terms of this specific order, this just triggers a conversation. But right now, you just want us to say complied with and move on.
Yeah, because I won't take stabilization to do this. Again, with the idea that I have gotten a written statement, and you can use Chapter 90, and you can bond to do the projects and then reimburse or pay off the bond with a Chapter 90.
Chapter 90.
Right.
Right. I'm just trying to make sure, and I would like to be able to go into every ward. Right now, some of year 1 might be more specific to a certain section, year 2 another section. I would like to make sure that we take care of as many sections of the community as quickly as we can. And I will tell you, I have had communication from a number of residents asking me to do this, do that. And as I mentioned this, it seems to draw a pretty good review, if in fact we can get it to. And Cinder gave me a written opinion on that last Thursday, I believe.
Okay, so you'll file that as a communication?
I will.
Thank you. All right, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Before I make a suggestion for a motion, Mike McManus would like to speak?
Yeah, so Terry, you had asked the question of Bob and I over the weekend. I forwarded that to my contacts at Mass DOT.
Yep.
And they said they checked with their finance folks, and Chapter 90 funds cannot be used for bond debt servicing based on Treasury regulations and state finance law. They didn't cite Treasury regulations or the state finance law, but their immediate answer was that you can't pay for debt servicing using Chapter 90 funds.
Okay, I'll pursue that because, like I said, I've got two different opinions now. So, but I will pursue that. But again, that would be my goal. And obviously, if I find out I can't, then that changes it. But I am still working. I've had pretty significant views that it could be done. So, and I got a meeting with Senator Vilas this week. I'll bring that up there as well. So.
Well, for the purpose of this order, I think I agree with Councilor Bartley. The order's been complied with. We had a good conversation.
Yep.
Differences, instead of encouraging Mayor Morse, Councilor Murphy encouraged Mayor Murphy. And any next steps would be a mayor, current mayor or future mayor, if possible, if it is possible to file it. And then we would vote yay or nay on any future proposals. So the chair would entertain a motion that the order has been complied with via the discussion we had.
Motion and the order's been complied with.
All those in favor? Any
Aye.
opposed?
Aye.
So moved.
Motion to take item 15.
Item
off the table.
15, introduced by Councilor Leahy. Off the table for discussion. This goes back a while. Was an order of the Water Department in conjunction with the Environmental Police submit a report to the City Council itemizing the fines for dogs in the city reservoirs and fishing in the reservoirs as well. Please submit the report monthly or for the remainder of the year as retained by the Environmental Police. Off the table for discussion. All those in favor? Any opposed? Councilor Leahy, as we learned earlier, is not with us this evening. Jeff, do we have a report from the Water Department? I know we've gotten one in the past.
So he said that the last report he sent to you back in February, but that's the last report. He said that Mass DEP reports on these quarterly and suggested that the best way to report these to the council would be on an annual basis, since Mass DEP doesn't report these on a monthly basis.
Yeah, I can't speak for Councilor Leahy, but perhaps the order is complied with and look for future reports. Any suggestions, Councilor Bartley?
No, I think that's a great suggestion. I'll make the motion that, because a good order, so I'll make a motion that the order's been complied with.
Second.
Motion made second, the order is complied with. All those in favor? Any opposed? So moved.
Motion to take item number 16.
Item number 16, off the table for discussion. There being hereby is appropriate transfer in fiscal year 2021, $689 from aid to mayor to $689 city solicitor. Off the table for discussion. All those in favor? Any opposed?
Aye.
This is filed by, I forget which mayor filed this. Tanya, you still with us?
It was me.
I am.
Okay, so is this the salary of our new acting city solicitor for the purpose?
Yes.
Anything to update the council on this? The aid to mayor, why is there a surplus?
Well, first of all, I don't have that other aid to the mayor.
Okay, so it's a vacant position?
Yes.
Okay. And we know Attorney Ball is now our new acting city solicitor. She's been expected to be paid.
Yep.
So is there any discussion?
I mean, this was the agreement that the previous acting mayor had made. I'm just honoring that agreement. So, and she did start on Wednesday, and we've already had some pretty good productive meetings. So,
any discussion? Councilor Bartley.
Well, I mean, this is de minimis fund, so I'm not going to. What are we doing with this, Terry? What's this going to buy? Some supplies or what? What? Or is this for payroll?
As I understood it, the agreement was for $80,000, and this brought it for the rest of this fiscal year at a rate of $80,000.
Oh, but so $689 is gonna get us to that milestone.
That's what.
Tanya, can you fill that in?
Yes, that's correct.
How many pay periods?
Oh, it is 3 pay periods.
Thank you.
Motion recommend approval.
I'll second it.
Motion made and second to approve for adoption recommendation to the full city council next week. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved.
Mr. Chair, just a point of information.
Councilor Bartley?
Before we adjourn, I know we still have in the jacket, since Councilor Murphy Acting Mayor Murphy brought it up in item 12, just West Glen Street. If you recall, Joe, we specifically left in the jacket, so till we in finance, because so I was hoping not this meeting, but at the next meeting, we would get, we bring it back before us and we get a more tangential information as to how we're going to finance the repairs up there. Okay. I think all of us are aware of what we don't have to read.
We will do that. And if Jeff, if you heard that from Councilor Bartley, please just put that on our next agenda and we'll take it up.
Already noting it.
Thank you. Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn, second.
I hope we're not going to discuss it. All those in favor? Any opposed? We stand adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks. Good meeting. Good meeting, Joe.
Have a good night.
Night.
See you, Howie. Night, Terry.
Have a good night.
Night.